Instructional makeup videos are extremely popular on YouTube, catering to a diverse audience and garnering millions of views. They're effective for conveying actions that are difficult to describe with words or static images alone. However, it's often difficult for people to follow along with an instructional makeup video using a timeline-based UI. In particular, the linear nature of the timeline makes it difficult for the user to follow along at their own pace, jump ahead or replay steps since there are no step boundaries, or to get a sense of how many steps there are, what kind of makeup is applied, and more without watching the video through first. In contrast, many of these limitations of instructional videos are affordances of traditional text tutorials, which allow users to easily follow along at their own pace. However, traditional text tutorials are much less expressive compared to video tutorials. Our work aims to combine elements of text and video tutorials to get the benefits of both. In order to do this, we need to first segment the video into steps. Prior research in cognitive psychology suggests that people mentally segment procedural tasks into object-action hierarchies. In a formative study of makeup tutorials, we found that the coarse-level object categories correspond to facial parts, specifically the eyes, broader face, and lips, while fine-grained action steps entail manipulations on these facial parts, such as apply the liner on the lash line. We also found that fine-grained action steps are defined by a product, such as bronzer in step 1, and an action, such as apply. A step change occurs when the product being used changes, for example, going from bronzer in step 1 to blush in step 2. Using this structure, we developed a pipeline that, given an instructional makeup video as input, automatically segments the video into a 2-level hierarchical tutorial and visualizes the resulting hierarchy in a mixed media UI. Now I'll go through our UI in more detail. At the top left is the video metadata, and then below that is a video player. At the very bottom, the overview timeline gives a breakdown of the tutorial by facial part sections. Finally, on the right is the steps panel, which displays all the steps. Users can browse the tutorial by scrolling through the steps in the steps panel and reading the summary text. They can also hover over the step thumbnail to preview the video of the step as an animation. They can click on a step to play it.
As always, I've applied an eyeshadow primer all over the lid.
We've also implemented the following voice commands with which users can navigate the interface. Notably, users are able to navigate with high-level intentions by searching steps, facial parts, products, and more. Now, I'll talk a bit more about how we segment the video into fine-grained action steps as well as coarse-grained events. To first identify the beginning of a new action step, we look for product changes in both the audio and the video. For example, to find a new step boundary in the video, we leverage an observation that before creators use a product, they tend to introduce it visually by featuring it prominently in the scene as seen in this first row of frames. In contrast, when they use the product as seen in the second row, the face is shown prominently with an applicator moving over it. We first run an object detector to detect all products in the scene. Since frame F does not contain a product, we judge that it is not a product introduction frame. Next, we run face detection to see if there are any faces on the scene. Since frame A contains only a product and does not have any faces in the scene, we judge that it is a product introduction frame and thus marks the start of a new step. Otherwise, if there is a face but it's not overlapping with the product, as in the case of frame B, we also mark that as a product introduction frame. If the face and product are overlapping, we calculate the motion of the product against the face. If it's fairly still, as in the case of frame C, we mark that as a product introduction frame. Otherwise, we assume that the video shows a makeup application action and move on. After we have all the steps, we cluster them into facial part groups. For a given action step, we identify the facial part by looking for subcomponents in the step text. And then we group consecutive steps with a common facial part together. To validate our system, we had 8 users use the system to follow 2 tutorials, one in our UI and one with the YouTube UI. Overall, users found that our UI was easier to navigate and felt more confident in their results when using it. Additionally, participants felt that the automatic step segmentations were fairly accurate. We also asked users to compare the hierarchically segmented tutorials with the 1-level version showing only the action steps. All participants expressed preference for the hierarchical version. Many participants appreciated that the hierarchical version helped them to quickly get an overview of the tutorial. For participants who only wanted to follow part of a tutorial, the hierarchical version helped them to find sections of interest much more quickly. With that, thank you for listening, and please find more technical details in our paper.